Right, guys. So, welcome to episode 68 of the Take Flight podcast, 2 away from the big number 70. Thank you for taking time out to listen to this great episode. And in this episode, we'll be talking about the most popular C word from the last few weeks. We're not talking about Christmas. We are obviously talking about Clubhouse. It's the app that you've seen everywhere, that you've seen Pabilo talk about everywhere, that has become the social media tool to listen and try and get educated on many different topics throughout the night. This will be the main topic, and we'll also be quickly recapping on what we got up to during the break. So we hope you enjoy it. Thank you for taking time out to listen to episode 68 of the Take Flight podcast. And with that, we can start the music.
Take off, take flight with you. For we never fly, but we're flying.
How is everybody doing?
It's only number 68. We're moving slow, guys. Slow.
It feels like it's moving slow. It's probably because
We've been on like the 60s for a very long time.
it's probably because we moved to bi-weekly versus weekly.
We moved to bi-weekly over a year ago.
All good.
No, how's everyone doing? P, how you been?
Yeah, great. Yeah, all good in the hood on this side.
Shawal?
Yeah, I'm good. Feel
You good?
So just came back from the sun after a week, feeling good. Yeah.
We're gonna ask a few questions about your trip. And DJ, Daniel, how are you?
I'm doing better than good, thanks.
Okay.
So great, I guess. And for whoever asks, how you doing, Olu? Yeah, I'm doing great as well. Thanks for asking, guys. Thanks for asking. So, Shawal, where have you been? You know, you've been living life.
Now, Olu, let's flip this.
Not much of a tan though.
Let's start with
You've been outdoors, you've been indoors. Where you been?
Clearly wasn't on the beach.
Yeah, I was. No, but Olu, let's start with you this time because, as you said, no one normally asks you. So, how you been? Because I've seen that you've been jogging a lot lately. Lockdown hasn't stopped you from the fitness. I was saying your t-shirt looks a little bit tighter, jawline looks sharper, hairline keeps coming more and more forward every time you
Don't gas this guy. Don't gas this guy.
No,
Do not gas this guy. I'm telling you.
No, I'm great, man. Yeah, I've been running quite a bit. I started a 2021 competition with my two older brothers, where every month we look to see who can run the furthest, and we've just created a pot, £5 pot each month, that the winner gets for running the furthest. So
Raise the stakes, man.
£5 pots. So how much you put in? £1.60 something each.
Oh, sorry, £5 each you contribute to the pot.
Oh.
So you win £10 a month based on it. So
every time you run, you put £5 in.
No. So whoever runs the furthest for that month gets £10 from the up. So £5 from each.
If it's your brothers, you might as well raise the stakes, man. At the end of the day,
I'm willing to raise the stakes. But
left pocket, right pocket.
Some of my siblings, they're married, they've got kids. I don't want to be taking food out of my nephew's mouth, you know, because it's
fine. You can feed him.
Yeah,
no, but it's
great point. You can feed him, Olu. Uncle Olu can play.
Yeah, Uncle Olu's here. Yeah, Papa can't make it this time.
So yeah, no, that's been motivating me to just get out and run pretty much every day. Work has been crazy because I mentioned before that this is the first time I've moved outside of what we class as the intense quarter close, so where it's busy every 3 months. But unfortunately, one of our team members had some family emergencies, so they pulled me back into the role. So the last sort of week has been just crazy and intense, where I'm going to take a few days off. But that's pretty much me, running and working.
That's why that body's looking tight. And Daniel, so how have you been?
2021, man.
And this will be a good time to inform the crowd that Daniel was actually one of the earliest investors in Bitcoin.
No.
It's going to be our last episode, guys. We're rich.
I'm retiring.
Before he sells off his shares. But Daniel, how's the holiday period been for you?
It's been all right. It was nice to have time off, relaxation. Now back like we never left.
And when did you officially start working? Was it this week or last week?
4th of Jan.
Okay. And you're still going to keep working despite, all the Bitcoin cash that you've made? And
well, it's funny you say that because I was looking at was it Tesla?
Lamborghini.
And someone who invested in Tesla quite a while ago, and now they saw how much they've returned on it. I think now they've got 700 and something million, I believe, from their return on investment.
Excuse me?
And yeah, you heard right.
Hold on, one second. Time out. Just time out. Run that back, big man. Run it back.
Okay, so I'm bringing it up now.
Run it back.
So
because if I'm not mistaken, I think you're talking in terms of if you know this person like well.
Sorry,
you need to start from the top.
Correct it. Sorry, I stand corrected. It was not.
Please correct. Please correct.
So the person said on Twitter, "Today I'm retiring from the corporate world at age 39. Not selling any shares for the foreseeable future."
Oh, I saw that one.
So today's gain loss is 904,000, and in their put account was 11.9, so 12 million. But then I looked at and someone posted a comment in the status was saying wealth level by net worth and what bracket they fell under. So if you have between $0 and 500,000, you are classed as poor. The only time you start being classified as comfortable is when you have between 4 and 10 million in the bank.
Yeah, I saw that rubbish, man. It was like a long list. I think it's so misleading because if you send it out and you sort of try to use that to inspire the youth, they're gonna just look at it. I think because you've got like rich, poor rich, filthy rich. I mean, what kind of rubbish is that? Anyways,
clearly has some strong views around that. No, I agree as well. I think it's a bit misleading. But no, it's just
so what happened to the What happened to the 700 million? You said 12 million.
I stand corrected. I said apologies.
Okay.
Yeah,
get ahead of yourself, man. You're thinking 700 million, yeah.
Yeah, that was just my account. But never carry on. But all good. Sure.
Yeah, speaking of 700 million, let's get into the topic, man.
No, P. What about you? How have you been?
Well. I'm always well. Family's well. Karim's growing. It's incredible to see him. Lauren's well. Spending literally this holiday has literally been every other day. So my parents, in-laws, ourselves. It's been fantastic. So
P, I'm not sure for some of the listeners, is back in the UK.
So traveled to. I just made it. I think I just made it, and before they started, putting everything on lockdown and turning everything into tier 5. And we should be fine to fly back on Saturday. So even though I think for the festive period, they had flights banned from the UK, it should be fine, largely due to the fact that we actually work and live there. So it should be good. But yeah, life's good.
And let's save the best to last.
And one of the reasons, I'm going to say just quickly, one of the reasons why life is even better is because of our topic today, but we'll get into that. So go ahead.
Shiwa, so how was your holiday? How was your trip?
So you know what's funny? When I was on the plane, I was listening to our episode that we released on the 1st, and on that episode, I didn't say where I was planning to go because I thought in case it gets cancelled. And then I think 3 days before the 31st, my flights got cancelled. Not just my flight, but my brother's flights as well, because I also booked flights for them. So originally the plan was to go to Dominican Republic for a week. Flights got cancelled after Boris Johnson's announcement. So then I was like panicking a little bit. Then the lockdown and stuff. So I was like, let me get back to Sweden first of all. So I flew back to Sweden on the 2nd. And then the same day, I was looking at where I could go to get some sun. And Dubai was one of the only places. So it was a bit of a last minute rush. Had to get a couple of tests. Had to do 2 tests in total before I landed. But no, it was all good. I think initially before going, I didn't want to go because it seems like the whole world is there at the moment. So it kind of put me off. But then once you arrive, you kind of disregard all of that because restaurants were open, things were socially distanced. You could still do things for fun out there as well. So it was.
What are some of those things?
So you got tested?
Yeah. So I had to. So just to fly into Sweden.
Wait, you let them touch you up like that, man.
Yes, I think I've been tested more in the last 2 weeks than I've done in the previous year in total. But no, it was a nice break. I feel recharged. Today was my first day back working, catching up with work and non-work stuff. So yeah, it was good. Couldn't tan as much as I would have liked, as Pabilo's already commented. But yeah, it was a nice break.
That's good.
Cool, guys. We should get into the the number one topic in the world right now, which is
Yeah,
Clubhouse.
I'll say number
Let's
two
do it.
topic. But yeah.
yeah. Bitcoin might be the first. So yeah, I thought it'd be quite interesting to talk about Clubhouse. For many, well, for all the four of us are obviously aware of Clubhouse, but it's clearly grown some traction in the last month. I'd say just over about last 6 weeks. And I thought we'll talk about its benefits, how we've used it, and what we found. What we found that we've liked about it, whether we think it's here to stay, etc. But for those who don't know what Clubhouse is, first of all, Clubhouse is an app exclusively on iOS devices. So if you have an Apple phone, you're able to download the app from the App Store. Sorry, Androids, it's not available for Android users. First thing to mention is that this app is still in its beta stage, so it's not actually a fully fleshed app. It's still in beta, but it's been released and people are able to use it. It's an app where it's by invite only, so that's its exclusivity, is that you have to be invited to use the platform. And what the platform itself is, the app, think of it as an online conversation. Think of it like an online Zoom, but with no video. It's audio content only. There's no messaging. You can join any room you want, but in order to speak, you have to raise your hand and be invited by a moderator to speak, and then you can speak. Otherwise, you're just in the audience and just listening to the conversation. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. It's an audio-only app where you can have conversations around any subject, any topic that you want. Of course, as long as you're adhering to their guidelines, anyone around the world can join. If it's a public room, you can make private rooms, but obviously to make it useful, you can join a public room, share insights, share gems. And if anyone's been follows Pabilo, you'll definitely know what Clubhouse is, because this guy, he said it's like a crack house.
So wait, how did you guys find out about Clubhouse? Because I think every one of us has got like different experiences of how they found out about it. So me, I listened to a podcast called the Joe Budden podcast, and that's where they mentioned, hey, they call it a chatty house or something like that. So I was like, oh, what's this thing called a chatty house? And they were like, oh, it's so funny because there's so many guys there gossiping, like guys gossip more than girls, all of these different things, right? And this was in the early stage of the application coming out, but I just ignored it because I was like, I don't want to get another social media platform. Like, there's too many out there. There's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's Twitter. I don't want to add to it, right? And my brother actually invited me to the room. I remember one late night, I just randomly just added it, said, oh, let me put a profile in. And all of a sudden, I was having a party. Daniel or someone started a party for me.
I did.
Where there was like maybe 4 or 5 people in the room. And then I was like, wait, why am I talking in this room? And I realized that it was actually my introduction party. But Shawal, how did you find out about Clubhouse and how were you invited to it?
So I heard about it on a US podcast, and I heard about it. It wasn't the Joe Budden one, but that is one that I listened to. It was another one called Group Chat, where they were speaking about it. And one of the guys on there, he was actually in a room very, very early on, where it was the founders of the app in that room. And also apparently Mark Zuckerberg was in that same room. And this was just before he started the room concept on Facebook. But that's where I heard about it first. And then I saw a few people that were on it, but I just didn't receive an invitation. And then there was actually in our WhatsApp chat of the Take Flight group where Daniel was asking about it. If anyone had heard of it, I think maybe 3-4 weeks ago. And then I thought, okay, this is my perfect way to get an invitation. So Daniel was kind enough to invite me onto the platform, but I don't think I've been using it as much as some of you guys. But
I think the only reason you haven't been using it is because you're busy in Dubai. That's the now that you're back.
Now I'm trying to catch up. I was on it yesterday for a little while, actually. It was good.
But that's the thing about Clubhouse. There's no catching up. If you miss it, you miss it.
Look at the smile on P's face.
I know I've missed some important discussions, but anyways, we'll get into
it. How did you find out about it?
I found out about it through a WhatsApp group, maybe back in September, October. And they kept on asking, has anyone got Clubhouse invites? Can anyone invite me? I was like, what is this Clubhouse really talking about?
A bunch of crack fiends. Anyone got an invite? Please, I need an invite.
Bro,
And people kept
it's real.
And people kept talking about, oh, can you invite me? Oh, I haven't got any invite stuff. I'm thinking, what is this? What is this? Because I just wasn't I just couldn't be bothered. I didn't bother following up. And then someone again a few months later mentioned it to me. And then they invited. Well, I downloaded the app, and then they invited me. And funnily enough, I think the day before, 2 days before, there was a chat saying, "Do people think Kevin Hart is funny?" And then he joined that room.
It was so peak. I heard about that one as well.
Yeah, he said there was a room a chat that was going on about, is Kevin Hart really funny? Then he joins the room, and then apparently a lot of people changed their opinion and weren't so on the side of no. I think maybe a little bit scared, but yeah, that was quite funny. But since then, it's been so that's how I found out about the app.
P.
Yeah, I found out through the app. I'm just laughing because this app is literally just my story is funny. No, it was yourself. So Olu and Toby were basically pushing me to get onto this app, and I was thinking to myself that they were in the right way. So Olu was like, "You need to get onto this app. You need to get onto this app because."
You know why I said that?
Yeah, I know, because you said Grant. Why?
Two of your favorite social media characters or personalities kept popping up on it.
Who's the second one? Grant Cardone.
No, Daniel knows the second. Who's Pabilo's second favorite person? Starts with T.
T.
Yeah.
Starts with T.
Yeah, the guy. Remember the sponsored ads you used to see?
Oh, Ty Lopez.
Yeah. Oh, Ty Lopez. Oh, Ty Lopez.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't been.
I joined the room with both of them in it. And all I could think about was P would love this room right now.
No, I haven't been in any rooms with Ty Lopez. But
days.
For me, when Olu kept messaging me saying, "You are missing gems from Grant Cardone. You're missing gems from Grant Cardone," and I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll get into it." So it was Olu and Toby that were pushing me because of Grant Cardone. And then I basically had to download the latest iOS on my phone and get busy.
Wow. Yeah, that's how bad it was.
Mate, I was like,
send your invite, yeah.
He sent me an invite. He sent me an invite, yeah. And for a couple of days, for 2-3 days, it was trying to download and I couldn't be bothered. And then Ollie was like, "You need to jump onto Clubhouse." I was like, "Oh, when my iOS downloads, I'll get it." So then it came. The rest is history, man.
One very quick note. To get Pabilo Timbo to update his iOS, do you know what needs to be done? He gets a brand new iPhone and he doesn't update the iOS until he gets a new iPhone. He's that type of guy.
I always press later. I ain't got time for that. Go on. But yeah, so it was Olu and Toby.
Right. So now that we've got it, what's everyone think of it?
Oh, mate.
Let this guy start. Daniel,
go ahead. Then you go ahead.
P, you start.
No, go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
Please. The floor is yours. Go on, you're itching.
Maybe
you're literally itching.
Oh, yo. All right, so I think personally,
someone else, you're just gonna jump in. So you just have the floor.
No, wait. I personally think now it's always with every app, it's like a tool. It depends on how you use it. And I personally think if you have the right intention with Clubhouse, it is like the biggest blessing, especially for 2021. Couple of things. One, I started the year saying I want to start expanding my network and being intentional about growing my network and start to get into more rooms, masterminds and groups where I'm effectively the really smallest person in the room and I'm really having to be forced to think differently and higher. I get presented with Clubhouse. So I just feel like it's, when the stars are starting to align in your life and you just think this is exactly what it is that I was asking for. So I think if you use it the right way, you can benefit largely from it. I have already done so just by attending a number of rooms. But I think it's interesting because it's almost like it was what we all needed without actually knowing that is that what we needed. So, for example, the idea. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can. He probably got a notification from one of the rooms that Grant Cardone just entered the room. And he's probably left.
You've been invited to the stage.
Cool. I'll just continue. So the Ollie was just laughing, man. Ollie was grinning. It's just he got such a big grin in his face. The idea of being in a room and you can just literally just listen to a discussion about something that you're actually interested in that's actually going to benefit you.
So my experience of the app, very mixed. I've got multiple views and experiences. Okay, initial thoughts of the app and the platform is it's a great networking tool. I think in life we're just trying to narrow down and increase our networking to people that might be in our circle or outside of our circle, but motivate us in a specific area. So that could be property, it could be cryptocurrency, it could be health, it could be relationship, whatever. By joining that app, what I noticed was that it just narrowed the world and just made the world a lot smaller. You felt so close or connected to more people, right? Which can sometimes feel overwhelming. So that's one element. Second part of the application, which I noticed quite early, is everyone is quick to drop a lot of information and gems. And I think that's due to the fact that on the application, a lot of people are trying to differentiate themselves. They want to be seen as experts. They want to be seen as the go-to person about property, money, business, etc. So what I found was that a lot of people were given unfiltered and transparent information, which you didn't always get on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. 100%. To get that sort of information, you would need to click on this link, give them your email address, join this mastermind group. But I found that people were just opening rooms and having honest conversations because they wanted to be perceived or seen as the expert. So those are the two main positive elements or areas of the app. The two negative parts of the app for me, one is everyone is an expert. Like everyone has got an opinion.
But I'll challenge you on that one though. Got kids on.
Yeah, but I felt like everyone is an expert. Like I jump into certain rooms and there's people talking about certain things. And a lot of times I always try to understand what is that person's credential to talk about this area. Like I think there's not a bio, like the bios are very short and they're self-written, right? So is this person really an expert to tell me how to run a £1 million business, right? Or have I just stumbled upon a room of someone that's on their journey or starting and wants to give advice or tips and sound like an expert? So that was my biggest struggle on the app. Like everyone felt like an expert. And also it felt like, and maybe I'm in certain rooms and maybe I'm in the right rooms, but it feels like everyone's a millionaire on the app. Like everyone has got £1 million business, £1 million. Like every room up.
You're in the right place. You're in the right place.
I'm telling you. You want to be the dumbest person in the room, and you want to be the one with the least money so that you can expand and grow, right? So maybe I'm in the right room, but it feels like every single room or conversation I join is like, I'm a millionaire. I started this company from scratch. And you're like, wow, really?
But is that a negative for you?
There's just a lot of millionaires out there. Maybe.
But that's the truth.
Maybe it's the truth.
But for me personally, the way you're explaining that is a positive, because it's almost like you're saying for the very first time in your life, you've in such a concentrated space of time, you've been around lots of high performers or lots of millionaires, if you want to call it that, right? Which is not something that you would have had access to before. So
I look at it ways. One, yes, it does. There's that element of it. You can look at it. The other element could be self-critical, like, yo, what have I been doing with my life? This feels like
that's key. That's important. That's why you need it.
You got to be careful, because I was listening to a podcast today, or All In podcast, which I really like, yeah. And they said happiness is the difference between.
Forget all that. I ain't trying to hear about all that, man.
I'm telling you, between expectations and results, right? And in the West, we're fed that we can all be millionaires, we can all be billionaires, etc. a lot of people are unhappy because they're not reaching that expectation. Sorry, P, but that's just the truth.
I hear what you're saying, but come on, man, we ain't trying to go in there. Stick to the point you mentioned. I think it's an important point, because without this, when would you have got into a position where you would have been in a room? Because effectively what you're saying is you're the only. Okay, you're not the only one, but let's say you're one of the very few.
That room as well.
Wait. But you're one of the very few in a room where everyone else is a millionaire and you're not. So there's a lot for you to learn and gain, right? So I just think that's
if they are truly millionaires.
Right? What I'll say also, what I like about Clubhouse, is there's no polish, as you mentioned. There's no pre-recording. Reread my script. Oh, can you cut that? Record it again because I want to post on Instagram. You're getting exactly how good people actually are, and you can actually tell very quickly if someone's advice is good. Does it have experience? Does it have mileage? Or if someone's just basically speaking for the sake of speaking. So that's why I think it's quite powerful. I think you can. I believe you can. I believe you can.
Because there's certain times I join in a room, be there for 5-10 minutes. I'm like, I'm leaving this, right?
Yeah, same. I do the same.
It's like, okay, how to like start a business that's a £1 million business, and all it was a good 10 minutes of people just saying, "Hi, my name is so and so. I started this business and made $1 million. Hi, my name is this person." And they like spoke to like 20-30 people, and they weren't given any information.
This app is mad.
I just had to leave. What about yourself, Daniel? What's your initial?
So my views.
Come on.
I'll start with the positive, and just to add about that 5-10 minute room, and then you're out because you're doing a lot of intros. The room is only as good as the moderator or moderators. So yeah, the moderators keep it. Well, depending on the direction of the moderators and how they set the room up, that would send its direction. However, what I like about the app, I like the interconnectivity, the fact that you can connect with people around the world at the click of a button who share possibly similar hobbies or interests as you and are willing to share information. That's, of course, provided you find the right room. I like the fact that there's a platform to communicate, especially with a lot of restrictions. People have a lot more time to spare and maybe to learn about new things from a different perspective. Typically, when you want to learn things, you would search online. You will do a lot of self-searching. But with this, you're allowed and able to get information coming to you by joining a room. And there are other positives, as you mentioned. I don't want to reiterate them, but some of the things I don't like is the fact that there are a lot of prima donnas. There are people that come here who think they're the bee's knees, who think they've got the best information since sliced bread. And because there is no kind of factor or there's no check to source to see the credibility, people can say what they want without being checked sometimes.
And I'm going to be honest to our listeners, us four are probably hypocrites, because there's going to be one day we're all going to be on stage in Clubhouse giving expert advice. And sounding like we know everything.
No, but I'm not saying there's knowing your stuff, but there's also coming across as like you are it, as in you've arrived. Because I've been in rooms where people are very knowledgeable, but they're humble to know that they don't speak themselves up. If anyone's going to pick that person up, someone else will do it. But they will never pick themselves up. They're always humble and express that they're willing to learn, and also share thoughts, and also tell people when they've done well, like when they've really learned something from them. Because there's a lot of value in a room.
I think that's unfair because in terms of like calling those out who kind of come across as if they know it all, because it could just be effectively a lot of confidence, right? One of the things that I found, I also think this is interesting as well, is that we're 4 Brits listening to a Clubhouse mostly filled with Americans, and the Americans are about it, right?
Yeah.
Their bios, are just numbers. What everything's numbers, and that's one thing I've also learned as well, is that we are wired differently. We're very much conserved, and we take the more humble approach, if you like.
That is a good point.
But I'm actually looking at it thinking to myself, do we need to take a bit more from the Americans in order to push ourselves along our journeys? It's a question.
I definitely think there's a different.
It's a question. You know what's coming on?
We've lost me. We've lost me.
I definitely think there's a culture. I definitely think there's a culture divide, and I also do find some of those rooms overwhelming because there is so much information given in a short period of time. It can be somewhat difficult to follow, and you can leave yourself a bit more confused depending on what room you're in, and the pace at which things are moving. But overall, I think it's a good app. I think it's a very basic app that's really just connecting people, but it's a very powerful app at the same time if it's used in the right way. People may find it's not really good, but then maybe I could question, are you joining the right rooms? Because I have seen some rooms there that are like, whoa. Ooh.
Remember what you told me in the introduction? That
Yeah.
you get a notification about what rooms you join. as soon as Daniel told me all your followers or people that follow you get a notification of the rooms that you go in, I was like, let me not accidentally click on some random room.
My brother showed me a room. He was like, "Oh, the title of this room is called Freaks." I said, "Whoa!" Then I saw a title of. I was scrolling down on my one. I pressed explore, and I think I saw 21 Savage Slaughterhouse Gang Atlanta only. But I think being able to go into these chats, it's almost like a bit of a privilege in itself. Like I can go into any chat or go into any room and listen to what they're saying. I can actually come out and go somewhere else. Say again?
The Freaks room.
No, that's my brother. I didn't say me. That's my brother. That's my brother. Go ahead. But go ahead, sure.
No, I was going to say, P, what's your take? Because I've probably got more questions than anything to say because I've probably been.
No, I love I love it because it's on the premise that I know it's a tool and you have to use it the right way. So when I first actually encountered it, I went into a room. It was 5 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't log out until 11 o'clock that night because that whole day it was a Shark Tank session. That was a really good. Room. I think the whole day I was realizing just how powerful these discussions and these pitches are. And if you're paying attention, like for me, what I was doing, one thing I love about the app, and this for me is like you can come out of the app and it's still playing. It's not like YouTube where it stops. So what happens is the app is going and I'm on my notes, making a lot of notes. So you're picking up like millions of pounds worth of free information as long as you actually then be intentional about making notes. So there was so much I learned just from the Shark Tank session, people pitching, learning about their mistakes, the moderators were giving feedback. So for me, from what I've experienced so far, it's been highly, highly valuable. I also joined the room where it was about investors with regards to crypto, real estate, and also stocks. And just being in the room where people are talking about their strategies and how they think, why they actually do angel investment versus other types of investments. What it does, it gets you thinking about your own activities, right? So, and it did. So I was having conversations with Lauren about should we actually maybe tweak some areas of our portfolio because of these thoughts. So that's kind of what's been happening.
And I love that, right? For you, especially for UP, because we've had conversations about diversing your
I'm not diversifying. Let's not get into it. But I will say, go on.
I remember your mind is property.
It is. It pretty much is.
Okay.
No, it pretty much is. The portfolio.
No diversifying on the way up.
No, I portfolio. I posted it the other day. 60% of the portfolio is real estate and business. I'm going to push that a bit more, but it doesn't mean that I don't have stocks, right? It's just now thinking, can we actually sort of invest into a few more stocks and pay attention? But what I also liked as well is the whole investing in stock game. And not to sort of speak to those who already do it. It's thinking about why you want to invest in a certain company. So in this group chat, these guys were talking about which industries and which patterns they follow and why. So I think being a part of that and listening to that was great because it started to sort of turn on some light bulbs. So yeah, that was, and then I think for me, it's just being in the room, the same room as Grant Cardone is, for me personally, is highly beneficial because let me tell you why. Up until now, the guy is obviously who he is. He doesn't really sort of, not pretend, but he doesn't necessarily dress up a certain way to make content on YouTube or Instagram. But you're getting exactly what is on his mind and how he feels and how he is on that particular day. So I think the realness of people and what they're thinking at that point in time, I think is quite powerful to be a part of.
I was in a room, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, where it was Grant Cardone and his wife. All I'm saying, it was awkward. It was a real awkward. Someone asked a question like, how do they divide the roles and responsibility in a marriage, right? Because they wanted to say, okay, how? And let me just say it was awkward. Grant said something, I think he said it as a joke, but it got misinterpreted on the app. And he basically had to apologize afterwards. I just want to clear up, like, my wife is completely like,
yeah, you can't play games, man.
Yeah, you can't play. Happy house.
The very last thing I'll say, is you don't actually get this from Instagram. But what happens is, what I like about this is you're qualifying people before you follow them. So for example, if I'm in a room and I'm listening to people talk and I'm giving advice, and there's a hedge fund manager that's talking about a particular strategy, based on what he said, if I like the sound of it, I'm now going to follow him. Versus, so you see my point? And I feel like that's more powerful.
How do you validate that he's an expert?
Well, no, it's all relative. So what if I think what he said is beneficial to me, or has got me thinking differently, or I believe based on what I know about investing, that was powerful to know, I will start following him. So I think it gives you a sense of guys you would never necessarily come across on Instagram or any other platform. You're able to sort of connect and follow on these platforms. So that's something that I'm seeing is quite powerful.
And what about negative for UP? Because I can think of one negative.
So the negative is, I called it's the crack house. Yeah. It's not Clubhouse, it's the crack house.
Yeah.
I struggled to come off it. It's interesting, yeah, it's because Lauren actually had to like pin me down and was like, you're coming off this phone. And I said,
grab the phone off you.
Like, we went to my mum's, yeah, and this is basically what happens. Everyone's talking and I'm like this. Right, yeah. All right, cool. Yeah. And it was the first couple of days, right? But it's so addictive because there's an element of you don't want to miss something. It's this fear of, I might miss a bit of information because it's not recorded. Yeah. So you have to kind of find a way to plug it in, right? And make it as part of your daily routine. But there is this element of, I'm missing out. I need to be on it. And to be honest with you, one thing I realized is the guys that are on there 24/7, these not the guys that are working a 9 to 5. So they got time. Yeah. Whereas us, if we've got things to do, you can't be on that 24/7.
For sure.
Can I ask a question, man? Because
sure, go ahead. Ask your question.
Moving on.
I think probably based on the four of us, I probably used it the least, right? Because I was away when you guys were using it more. But then based on what you've heard and just relaying a little bit the pros and cons of what you guys have said, have you heard anything new that you hadn't heard before? Because I think this group is well read. I think we're consuming content, podcast, YouTube, Instagram, all this stuff. How much is actually new that you've heard?
It's a good question. So there's been a few new things, but I wouldn't say you're coming away from every room thinking, I never heard that before, or I never heard. It's just, I think, being part of a discussion, and it reinforces a number of messages that perhaps you already know, but also it's like people's life experiences, people giving it to you from their mouth directly. I think I picked up I can probably count on my fingers the number of things that have been new, right? But completely new. Like, you would have to pay thousands to get this information.
Yeah, I don't think there's that many things I've picked up that is like, wow, game changer. As in, now tomorrow, this is the little gem or secret that's gonna change everything, right? I think, like P said, you're in the right rooms, you're in the right conversation, you're motivated. I think one element of it is the saying, like, surround yourself around people that motivate you. So that's one element, right? If you're surrounded by people that are more ahead in their journey, etc., it motivates you. And I think the second, and to answer that in different ways, I think we've got to also realize that for us four, right, we are well read. We search quite a lot of information. So for us, you might say there's not that much where it's like, oh, this is brand new or this is completely new. But there's so many people that don't research as much information as us.
Sure.
So for them, I can imagine it as being, oh, wow, this is a complete game changer. This app, the amount of information I'm getting is allowing me to think a certain way or a different way. I think for the last few years, right, we've always been about mindset and learning and changing and self-development and self-growth. So for us, it's not such a massive wow moment.
Daniel, what's your take?
I wouldn't say I've learned anything groundbreaking or new, but what it has done is it's enforced me to challenge my way of thinking and to rethink some of what I maybe kind of put some fire beneath me to kind of get moving with a lot of strategies that I've been thinking of but putting off for a while. So it's kind of given me that push to be quick.
So do you guys think this is going to last post lockdown, or do you think this is like House Party or one of those apps that's going to be gone?
So, go Daniel.
For me personally, it's something I questioned when I first started using it, because when I first started using it, it was early December during the national lockdown. And I thought, wow, this is great, this is good. But then I questioned, what will its purpose and use and value be once globally restrictions are lifted and we get back to the way of life as close as we can to the way it used to be? And there are many things around it, because of course it's great, but to be value, you need people to speak. And if we're at work, you can tune in, but you may not be able to speak and add value for other people. Similarly, other people may not be able to host rooms because working conditions have changed drastically, or commutes are now in areas of disconnected signal, etc. It's been around since March last year. Of course, it's rapidly growing. It's still in its beta stages, and it's still developing the app. And the founders have weekly town halls. But it's only going to be of value and of use based on us, the users. If people are on it, then it will be useful. If no one's on it, then it's not going to be useful. And I just think naturally, it's at the early stage where people are excited about it. It's some good conversations, but because it's an app that doesn't really, maybe because it's not, you can't monetize. People have cash apps, but you can't. There's no, to monetize it. Then people might feel like, yeah, I'm going to be on there and give value to be sold and to be paid for it. But for now, I think if it stays the way it is, it will naturally fizzle out. However, I would like to be proved otherwise.
Totally agree with you, Daniel. I think I joined one group or one conversation where they were asking this exact question: do we feel like Clubhouse is going to last? And it all comes down to how certain people on the application can monetize it. So does it make sense for someone like
100%
Cardone to be on the app for 5 hours, 6 hours, sharing information and gems? If he's not able to monetize that like he would if he had a mastermind or whatever where people come and listen to him, he's not going to stay on the app for that long, right? Right now, it makes sense. It's a publicity, get your name out there, let everyone know you. They'll follow you on the app. They'll follow you on Instagram. Maybe you can sell to them in the future. But until they figure out that monetization game on the app, it's not going to last. Instagram figured that out. Twitter figured that out. Where
Facebook even figured
out where users get paid and the company gets paid. I don't think Clubhouse is at that space. Until they can do that, it's definitely going to fizzle out, especially as you mentioned, Daniel, when outside opens, people won't have the time to stay at home and listen to a 2-hour clip. And if it's not being pre-recorded and stuff like that, or recorded so you can listen to it or catch up later, it's not going to survive.
I think, totally agree. I think right now, the moderators are in giving back mode. And what I mean by that is they're giving all of their time for free. And this is not what they do. This is not in their DNA. Yep. Everything they do, they put a price on it and they charge. And for me, they're giving information out that people would pay thousands to basically find out. So it's only a matter of time before they actually start charging to get into rooms, which personally I'll be happy with, because then actually I think the people that are in there are going to be even more serious to learn. But it has to go in that direction, because the information is especially when you know what it is that they're saying and you're thinking this is free. They can easily put a price on it, easily.
Sure.
No, I mean I haven't used it as much, so I'm just excited to see how it evolves. One thing I have to say though, I think it's very cool how it got on my radar a few months ago. One, in that podcast I listened to, and also when people like Mickey Mouse and these guys were going on the platform. And I think it's really it's really shown the influence I think that Black culture has on pushing things to the mainstream. And I think this is something that maybe I'm not the right person to say it, but I don't think there's enough credit that's given for things like that, where
totally
this app has become the mainstream because a couple of individuals who are respected and culturally influential have taken the app and have made it a lot more accessible for a broader audience. So I think that's really cool to see, and I'm excited to see how it develops.
Well, on that point, right, CNN actually released an article
yesterday
about what you just said, how the Black culture taking on and adopting the app has made it fun and cool. And I've noticed it, like certain rooms I'm in, there's a lot of Black culture, and obviously it's same as the social dilemma that we mentioned. Like obviously when we follow certain people, maybe we only get a view of what we're used to or what we are accustomed to based on our type, political views, etc. But what I've noticed, me personally, was when I started hearing about like Joe Budden, the Meek Mill, 21 Savage, The Game, all of those Black influence join it. That's Kevin Hart. That's when I started to see a rise in the adoption and the invites and people asking, okay, what is this app? What is this app? One question I have for you guys, because this actually came from one of our listeners, and she asked us, and we probably should figure out how we can do this, but she thought it would be good if we actually did an episode on Clubhouse. So I think this episode would be perfect, where we can open up a room, do episode whatever the topic that we're going to discuss, and just record on there. I don't know how we can record off. I don't
think you can record, because it's the whole point of the app is you shouldn't be doing screen recording or things of that nature, because they have an algorithm to check it, and if they do find you, I think you get banned or
maybe we could record like on StreamYard, like how we do right now, and also talk on the app as well. I think that would be really cool to do an episode. So I'll try and figure out the IT and the technology elements of that. But are you guys up for it?
Definitely.
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
Well, I guess it's only going to be iOS listeners.
Yes. But we'll make sure that we upload our normal episodes like we normally do. But let's try and get that done in the next month.
Cool.
So thank you all for listening. If you haven't got Clubhouse, it's up to you. Download it if you want. If you found what we said interesting, no pressure. We don't get anything from you, but you will need to be invited by someone once you downloaded the app. But as always, if there's any feedback for us, find us on Instagram at TakeFlight Podcast. Email us on email at takeflightpodcast@gmail.com. And stay safe, stay well. God bless.
Peace.
Woo!
Take off.